Coast. They thought their dog was keeping the baby awake. He was the only reason the baby kept waking up at all. Coast. The crib was in the corner of the room with the white slats and the butterfly mobile and the small nightlight that cast soft yellow shadows. Nadia was 4 months old, and she had been sleeping through large portions of the night since week 6, which Terry and Jonah Wolf had accepted as a gift they hadn't earned. Ghost. What they had not expected was the dog. Bruno was a 5-year-old mixed breed. Part hound, part something larger. 70 pounds of quiet, steady animal who had lived with them since before they were married. He was not a dog who asked for things. Coasts? He was not a dog who broke rules. He had an established place in the house and an established hierarchy of behavior, and he did not deviate from either. He began sleeping outside Nadia's door on a Thursday. Coast? Not unusual. Many dogs gravitated toward new babies. Terry had read about this. She had expected it. She left the door open 6 inches so he could see the crib. Coast? By the 2nd week, he was inside the room. By the 3rd week, he had positioned himself at the corner of the crib nearest the head and was not sleeping. He was sitting, upright, eyes forward, through every hour of the night that Terry's monitor showed her. Coast. She watched the monitor footage at 7 in the morning with a cup of coffee and felt the first genuine unease. He wasn't sleeping. He was watching something. Coast. She mentioned it to her mother, who had raised dogs and children together for 40 years. He's on guard, her mother said. That's a guardian behavior. It's good. Some dogs choose a child and that's it. This satisfied Terry for exactly 4 days. On the 22nd night, Bruno began waking Nadia. Coast? Not by touching her, not by making noise. He would rise from his position at the corner of the crib and place both front paws on the lowest crib rail, and the creaking of the rail would wake Nadia, who would wake fully and cry, and Terry and Jonah would come in, and Bruno would step back. Coast. And Nadia would be awake and crying and fine, and they would settle her and go back to bed. This happened at 2:17 a.m. on the 22nd night. At 3:08 on the 24th, Coast. Jonah, who worked in logistics and processed problems systematically, said he's disrupting her sleep cycle on purpose. For what purpose, Terry said. I don't know, but it's not random. Look at the times. Coast. They were not random. They were not the same either. They were correlated to nothing either of them could identify. Jonah called a dog trainer named Sandra Ruiz, who came on a Wednesday and watched Bruno for an hour and said, I've seen separation anxiety. I've seen attention behaviors. Coast. I don't know what this is. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Coast. The pediatrician appointment was already scheduled for the following Monday. Dr. Lila Farouk listened to Nadia's chest and then listened again. She asked Terry how long the nights had been going. She asked a series of questions whose shape Terry would only understand afterward. Coast. Then she referred them to pediatric cardiology. Coast. Nadia had a bradycardic episode pattern, a heart rate that dropped during deep sleep stages to levels at a continuous cardiac monitor, the kind Nadia did not have. Would have alarmed Dad. The drops were not dangerous in isolation. Coast. They were dangerous in duration. The longer Nadia remained in deep, uninterrupted sleep, the longer the episodes ran. The intervention was to interrupt the sleep cycle at specific intervals through the night to pull the baby out of the deep stage before the heart rate could drop to a threshold that required medical response. Coast. The cardiologist, Dr. Francis Uche, pediatric cardiac electrophysiology, explained this to them in a small room with good lighting. Something was waking your daughter at night, she asked. The dog, Jonah said. At what times? Coast? He showed her the monitor data on his phone, the timestamps of Bruno's rail interventions. Dr. Uche looked at the times. She looked at the rhythm they made across 23 nights. She was quiet for a moment. Coast. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Coast. These interruptions, she said, are occurring within the window of deepest sleep stage transition. Whatever the dog is detecting, and I won't speculate beyond my expertise, these interventions are clinically appropriate for this condition. Coast. Terry went home and sat at the kitchen table and thought about Sandra, the trainer, saying, I don't know what this is. She thought about her mother saying that's a guardian behavior. She thought about every night she'd come into a crying baby and a dog stepping back from the crib. Rail mission complete, returning to his post. Coast. She thought about the time she and Jonah had discussed whether to move him out of the room. She thought about what would have happened if they had. Coast. Nadia was fitted with a home cardiac monitor that tracked her heart rate through the night. The device alarmed when her rate dropped below threshold. Bruno continued to sleep at the corner of the crib. Most nights the alarm did not trigger. Most nights it did not need to. Coast. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Terry watches the monitor footage sometimes. Not every night, but sometimes she will pull up the footage from 2 a.m. coast and watch Bruno at his corner of the crib, sitting eyes forward, reading something in the darkness of that room that no instrument in the house knew how to read yet, and she will feel the specific weight of how close they came to deciding they understood what he was doing. Coast. The next story involves a Labrador who spent 3 mornings pressing her nose to a toddler's ear, and the infection the doctor found in the 4th day.